for Starbucks. So consequently, to know a little bit about coffee, one would think he would know a little bit of information about it. However, to sell coffee to a coffee lover is an easy thing. So I'm going to challenge you, Steve. You know I'm not a fan of coffee.
Yes, I know.
I'm going to challenge you, make me want to buy a cup of coffee. So at this point, without further ado, Steve Elliot, A Coffee Journey, Steve Elliot.
Of course not. There I sat. I had survived 3 interviews with Starbucks. No one had asked me what my favorite coffee was. And do you know why that question scared me? I hated coffee, and I didn't know how to answer it. But my journey started that fateful day in April, when I sat at the table and experienced my first Starbucks coffee tasting. And tonight, I'm going to share with you a coffee tasting. We are all going to taste the same coffee I tasted 2 years ago. For those naysayers in the audience, I hope I can demystify coffee for you. And you'll come to appreciate it just as much as I have. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guest. Coffee has been around for centuries. I think the main reason I didn't enjoy it was I hadn't tasted good coffee. And I would humbly suggest that Starbucks has some of the best coffee in the world. The coffee that we're going to be tasting tonight is called Guatemalan Antigua. It is from that area of the world. Now this coffee, I should make sure I'm quoting direct, proper content here, but this coffee has a citrus taste. It pairs well with chocolate, and it has some subtle notes of sweet spice. Now, I get asked constantly by people, what do you guys put on the beans to get the taste and the flavor? And the truth is, we put nothing on the bean. The bean is the hero. What changes the flavor of a coffee bean is the soil it's grown in, the climate it comes from, and even how it is harvested. Now this coffee has been with us since 1971, which means it is a founding coffee. It was one of the first coffees that Starbucks ever produced back in Seattle. And the reason it has stayed with us for so long is that time and time again, consistently, this coffee has maintained its flavor and its aroma and its taste. A lot of people are surprised that Starbucks does not farm its beans on huge conglomerate plantations. We still deal with local farmers. And this coffee is no exception. In fact, it is harvested the same way as it was generations and generations ago. My district manager went on we call them origin trips, but she actually went to Costa Rica and watched how coffee was harvested there and came away with a greater appreciation for the work that goes into getting these beans. Now I'm going to call on incoming President Hollis to assist me. Hollis, if you can bring me up the small cups of coffee there. And Nancy, would you mind passing out the food that will accompany this tasting?
Oh, no, not at all.
And that's the other thing. Coffee always pairs with food. So we obviously would like a coffee pairing that is complementary. Sometimes you can even learn more about coffee when you pair something that doesn't go particularly well. Actually, maybe Hollis, you go put them down and I'll start pouring behind you. That would be the better.
And I'll go opposite.
And you can go opposite. Did I?
Yeah.
I see it there, but it's not, it doesn't have the strand.
More for Bob. You don't like chocolate, do you?
Now this was done in a French press. The way you brew coffee will change the flavor of the coffee. Anyone know why? A coffee brewed in a percolator will be different than a coffee brewed in a French press?
Because it's not from France.
Smarty pants. No, it is, when you put it in a percolator, you're using a filter, and the filter actually strips away some of the oils from the coffee. So it will actually change the flavor of the coffee.
Steve, is there peanuts in these?
It was made in a, I can't guarantee that there's no nuts in
So
it.
if
So if
I
anyone has
give
a
you
nut
one
allergy,
and you're allergic, just say eat it, and I'll eat it. Because I'm not allergic to anything. Can't you tell?
do I have enough cups for everyone? That is the
I
question.
think you did.
I think I
Just
did.
about done.
There we go. I just have a few down at the back here.
Yeah.
Do I have enough s'mores bars for everyone? That's the more important question. All right. What's that? I almost have
Coming in.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay.
Come on in.
Can I sit over there?
Yeah, sure.
It's gonna be. Oh, thank you very much. Just came at the right time.
Yes, you did.
Quite have enough coffee.
We didn't get one?
What's that?
No, he's got a s'more.
He's got a s'more. Okay, that's good. He can enjoy a s'more.
Oh, thank you.
This is the part of the speech.
Okay.
What is
But
it?
no, but so.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I don't mind.
Oh, you're a scholar.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry if somebody got some grounds in it. My strainer wasn't in the coffee.
That's why they do
Check
it.
that.
That's why they do it.
There are 4 steps to a coffee tasting. Does anyone know or guess what the 4 steps are?
The smell.
The first
smell.
step. Yes, Donna? Smell is first. Yes, so Christina would not enjoy the first step. Smell is first. Second, taste. How do we taste coffee?
You slurp it
We slurp it, correct. Why do we slurp it?
because it increases our olfactory nerves from our brain,
Right.
which is the cranial nerve number 1.
Wow.
And
I'll give you a card. You can come work for me at Starbucks, or do you already work there?
and it just stimulates the limbic system in
Yeah.
our brain. And then it just says how delicious this coffee tastes.
There you go. So when you slurp, it hits all the flavor spots of the tongue, and it does exactly what this gentleman has said. And then you're going to locate where is it hitting me on my tongue, because that will tell us something about the coffee. And then finally, once we pair it with our lovely s'mores bar, we will be able to describe what the s'mores bar does to the coffee and vice versa maybe. So let's all take a cup and do a quick sniff of our cup. What are people smelling there?
Coffee.
Yes, we smell coffee. Do we smell anything else?
It's very woody.
Sorry?
It's very woody.
Yes. Yes, there is a woody factor to it, absolutely. And there's a slight sweetness to the smell, I would describe. It doesn't smell bitter, it smells sweet to me. There is no right or wrong answers to these questions, by the way. So, all right, so now let us slurp our coffee. And where is that hitting us on our tongue? And how does it taste?
Oh, really good.
Does it? Oh, good. For me, it was tip of tongue, maybe a little bit to the middle of tongue. Anything else?
For me, it was red and button.
Back.
For me too.
Back. And finally, take a bite of the wonderful s'mores bar and then have another sip of the coffee and see what that does. Does it enhance the flavor?
Suggesting for improvement, make sure that Nancy has.
What do we think? Does it go with the coffee?
Yeah.
Yes? And what does it do to the coffee? Or what does it do, what does the combo do together?
Makes it sweeter.
Sweeter? So this is an example of a complementary pairing of a coffee with a sweet. So when you come into Starbucks, I know I sometimes get customers when they buy their coffee, I'll always suggest a food item, and that's because it completes the coffee experience to have a food paired complementary to the coffee. This is a great coffee for entertaining at home. For people who maybe don't like a dark, rich coffee, this would be a nice medium roast. This is a medium roast coffee. By the way, the darker the roast, the less caffeine inside the coffee. So sometimes I'll have people come in and they'll say, oh, I'd like a strong coffee. And I have to ask, well, do you want strong caffeine or do you want strong taste? Because they're different. So a lighter roast actually has more caffeine in it than a darker roast coffee would have in it. Because the longer a bean is roasted, the more caffeine is lost from the actual bean.
What was the name of this one again?
This is Guatemalan Antigua. I'll show you the bag. What's that? Handpicked by Juan Valdez. But it is a very popular coffee that we sell. The other thing I should mention is that our coffee is locally or ethically sourced. So we do not engage in any non-ethical treatment, and our where we grow our coffee, we have what's called farmer resource centers. Any coffee farmer from that region can come to that resource center, regardless of whether they're growing beans for Starbucks or they're growing beans for another competitor. We view that if we can raise the coffee crop product to be a higher quality, it benefits all of us, not just one company. So it's open for all. I hope I have enticed you enough to purchase a pound of lovely Guatemalan Antigua.
At cost?
Yeah.
Cost is of no object, Nancy. For that piece of heaven on your tongue, you're going to challenge me for cost? It is yours for the incredible low price of $19.95. Yes, Don?
Does it come in a Keurig or a Tassimo cup?
Oh, good question. It does not come in Keurig, unfortunately. This one only comes in whole bean, unfortunately. But some of our coffees do come in Keurig cups as well. Again, the flavor may change based on how you're brewing that coffee.
So can I order this when I come into Starbucks?
Yeah, you can buy it by the pound. We'll grind it for you for whatever type of machine you may have, whether it's French press or other devices that you use. We'll gladly grind it for you for free. And one other thing before I leave the stage, please do not put your coffee in a freezer. That is a big no-no in terms of the coffee. You're going to, the oils on the bean are actually going to get funny in the freezer, so don't put coffee beans in the freezer. Come and see me. I'm at Dixie and Dundas. I would love to sell you a pound of Guatemalan Antigua coffee.
I think she was wondering if you could buy it.
Could I buy a cup, like a large?
Walk in with a cup of it.
Can I buy a grande or a?
You can always ask for a coffee that's not being brewed to be brewed for you. Yes, absolutely. You can do as well. I'm going for the big sale of the whole.
Start me small.
This one does get brewed occasionally in our regular lineup as well. And with that, I thank you for your time.